Wrestling legends are still kings. A lesson for some of you guys out there that need to learn how to price wrestling cards to keep them moving. A card set that many would consider oddball, and some cards that truly are so rare that the grades don't matter that much. This is the Wrestling Card Market Watch for May 2022. What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Cards. Each month, I take a look back at the previous month's sales and then put it into one of these videos, the Wrestling Card Market Watch. If this is your first time stopping by, thanks, hit that subscribe button. And hopefully by the end of the video, I can convince you to give me a like if you're liking it. But the idea of these videos is to just help you guys learn. I like to look back at the previous month, as I stated, but I don't just want to say what's the top sales. I want to pick certain cards that I think may have teaching points, something that somebody could learn from, or maybe just some underrated stuff I like. Last month's video for April was all about Prism for obvious reasons. It was one of the biggest months in wrestling card history, from the people talking about it to the amount of sales and those dollar amounts. It was crazy. If you want more about that, you can go check out last month's video, the Wrestling Card Market Watch for April 2022, after you're done with this one if you want to hear more about Prism. But this month, we've got quite the variety of cards and sales and eras and talent. But first, as always, got to get the plugs out of the way. Here are some things you can do to help show your support for my content, this channel, anything else I'm doing. The easiest thing you can do, it's free, you're already here, hit that subscribe button. And like I said, if you're enjoying this video so far, any of my past videos, or if you want to wait till the end, whatever, I just hope that you can give me a like. And share this video with a friend, somebody that's a wrestling fan, a trading card collector. Maybe it's someone that is in the wrestling card hobby and just doesn't know about this channel yet. Hopefully trying to get more people to watch these videos, have a good time, join the community. Make sure to check out the podcasts I'm involved with, Wrestling with Cards and Worlds Collide. That's right, the Wrestling with Cards podcast has come back. Although not so much every single week, I am going to start putting out more shows periodically. And then, of course, the Worlds Collide Wrestling Card Podcast. Myself, Tony Vella from WrestlingTradingCards.com, each and every Wednesday morning dropping an episode for you, talking all things wrestling cards, various topics. Both of those shows are available on all popular podcast platforms, no matter what you like to listen on. So make sure to check that out. Wrestling with Cards, the podcast, Worlds Collide Wrestling Card Podcast. Just search those. Please subscribe to those as well, and if you dig it, leave us a 5-star review. If you'd like to help contribute to my content monetarily, because there are costs that go into doing videos and podcasts and anything else we're doing, make sure to check out Wrestling with Cards on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. That's right, $1. Trust me, that $1 contributes to go a long way for what we're doing here. You can get your name in the credits for that in these videos. There's also other tiers you can pay more for and get various discounts, maybe to the eBay store, which we'll talk about in a minute. Maybe merchandise. Hey, at the time of recording, this is the first ever Wrestling with Cards t-shirt. It is available. There's only 19 of these going to be printed, and once they're done, they're done. So if you're interested, send me a DM on social media. Speaking of social media, at Zhan Warning on pretty much all popular podcast platforms. Tag me in any of the posts you're sharing any of my content on. Or, like I said, you can DM me to order one of these shirts. And links to all that is in the show notes. I think I mentioned eBay. Maybe not, but I'm doing the eBay store full-time on top of recording this stuff and doing another full-time job. Beast Mode Collectibles on eBay. If you'd like some low-dollar cards, we're talking wrestling, sports cards, non-sports. I've got cards for as little as $1.50 shipped. And if you want to buy a quantity of those, there's discounts built in with free shipping, up to 30% off certain orders. And you never know when I'm going to run a flash sale or send out a coupon to everybody on Patreon. You never know what's going to happen. And lastly, you can donate to buy me a coffee. As silly as some of you think that sounds, the donations do come in here and there, and it doesn't take much to keep providing high quality caffeine to keep me going, keep making these videos and putting out podcasts and all kinds of content. We've got 6 total sales to go over in this video, which is a little bit more than normal. Usually I have like 4 or 5. Doing 6 this time, so we're going to try to rapid fire these the best I can. And let's get started. 2002 Topps NXT Oni Lorcan Auto out of 99. $3.99 with 75 cents shipping. I bet you're thinking, why in the world did I pick this card of this talent for this video? Well, here's why. Some of you out there on social media platforms, no matter what it is, you're running these stack sales, these claim sales, these story sales. Many of you are doing great jobs, but many of you out there, you need to take note about what I'm about to say. Learn how to price your cards if you truly want to move them. Now again, it's a free country. You can list your cards at whatever you want. If you want to list, a 1990 Classic, Coco Beware card, I don't know, I just picked a name. If you want to list something that's not rare, not scarce, and not really that sought after, and you want to put $1 million price tag on it, knock yourself out. But if you really want to move your cards, whether that's just you want to get rid of them or you know what you have in them, you want to just make a little bit of profit to then dump into your PC, you really need to learn how to price cards. Now look, if you get something rare, really low numbered, a gold refractor, because that's what everybody loves now, something that's graded high, something like that, sure, if you want to kind of hold firm on your price and, hey, this is my asking price, I'm not letting it go for anything less, I get it. But when you're selling lower end cards like this auto we're talking about today, or some of those relic cards that people are think just, oh, it's used in a ring, it's worth a lot of money, and it's got a picture of Otis on it. You have to know the market for these and what they sell for, which is typically $5, give or take a few dollars. And look, I'm not saying that these cards are trash whatsoever. There's a huge collector base out there for the lower end of wrestling. Again, I just don't think that people understand what their cards are truly worth. And you know, maybe they are pricing these cards at the prices they are to try to recoup some box cost. Maybe they're ripping a lot of wax or buying into breaks. And while I do understand that theory and concept, I personally think it's much better to, hey, if you've got a stack of stuff and you don't want it, or it's kind of outgrown your PC, just keep it moving. You may take a loss here and there, but if you're consistently putting that money back into the hobby, eventually that value will catch up with you and you'll either break even or you may actually come out way ahead in the end, long term. Again, cards and a lot of this stuff, you know, a lot of people want to talk about the quick flips, and yeah, that's a, you know, opportunity. But I think a lot of people are so short-sighted on some of this stuff when they're thinking about money and how much they're spending on cards and how long they're holding them, etc. But life gets in the way. You know, you got to sell stuff when you got to sell stuff. So I'm a firm believer of just keeping things moving if it's not something that's like a coffin card, so to speak, something you just don't want to sell. 1988 WWF playing cards, sealed box, complete set, $297.49. You know I love the oddball stuff, and I really dig these cards. Why do I love them? Why do I love playing cards featuring WWF superstars? Really, it's the images. It's the artwork of each individual wrestler. It's so nostalgic. It mentally takes me back to that boom of the 80s wrestling that kind of trickled into the early 90s, where you could go to the store and pick up WWF branded anything. WWF birthday decorations, WWF punching bags, or in this case, WWF playing cards. One big thing about this set, and I know there's probably some other names in there that I can't think of right offhand. I need to do a full video on this set. The fact that this is one of the earliest Ultimate Warrior cards. And I know some people may say, oh, it's not a rookie card, it's not packed pull, it's not the Market Scene Limited card that came out a year after. I'm not here to argue that. I'm just saying this was made in 1988, one of the earlier Ultimate Warrior cards, and I'm a huge fan of it. Also, being it's a playing card set, most of the talent featured on these wrestling cards came in a set of 4, representing each suit that goes in a deck of playing cards. And I posed this question before on my video that I did of the 1991 WWF US playing card set, which you can go check out in the archives. But the question is, do you consider these some of the earliest parallel cards? I mean, it's the same image, right? There's no variation, but there's a variation on the suit of card that it is. Whether it's the spades, the diamonds, the hearts, the aces, like that is a differentiate even though the image is the same. Parallel, I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Is this one of the earlier wrestling card parallel sets? Love to hear your opinion. 1991, Chromie, WCW, Stunning Steve Austin, PSA 6. $1,825 with $5.50 shipping. So a couple of points with this one. First, let's look at that price. The interesting thing with this is a higher price than what we've seen a lot of Steve Austin autographs and other Steve Austin cards that many people consider rookie cards or rare oddball stuff. Does that mean that the market has decided that this is the Steve Austin card to own? This is the rookie card? I always have said that the market is dictating what people want. Not what you think, not what I think, what the market thinks. So maybe we have our answer here on this being the Stone Cold Steve Austin card. Again, I would love to hear your opinions. Let me know in the comments, or you can tag me on social media and share this video and say, what do you think about this Steve Austin card? And the other thing I wanted to talk about with this sale, and it's something I mentioned before, so not reinventing the wheel here, is when it comes to rare and scarce cards, buying the card, not the grade. Now look, I know we want our PCs to be filled with 10 graded cards, PSA, BGS, SGC. We want the 10s. But some of these cards are so rare and they don't pop up very often that if you don't get them when you see them, there's a slim chance you may never see them again. I feel like people need to get their heads wrapped around this, because just because something is not a 10 doesn't mean it's not worthy of being in your collection. And it doesn't mean that it's not going to have any kind of long-term value. More on this buy the card, not the grade stuff later in this video. 2014 Topps Chrome Roman Reigns Gold Refractor, $10,000. However, a best offer of $3,000 with $8.50 shipping was accepted. Well, despite all the Prism hype, Topps Chrome is still huge, not only in the wrestling card hobby, but the hobby in general. Still doing great sales and popularity. You start seeing a lot of it on social media, especially the gold refractors. Now, and this might be a little bit of a hobby hot take, but kind of getting tired of seeing all the gold refractors that everybody's buying and posting on social media. Do I own some? Absolutely. Do I think they look great? Yes, they do. They look amazing. But when I see so many people posting the same gold refractor this, gold refractor that, I just feel like there's a lot of groupthink going on. It seems like there's a lot of follow the herd mentality that's been going on in the wrestling card space the last few months with the gold stuff. I think that's why I was so pleased to see some of the Prism stuff and now some of the WWE Panini Revolution stuff doing well with different parallels and people posting what they had and very excited about it. Specifically with Revolution, the wrestling card hobbies really latched onto this product more than any other type of sport that's been produced in it. Just another interesting difference between wrestling cards and sports cards. So while I'm kind of getting tired of seeing everybody and their brother posting gold refractors, you know what they say? Buy what you love, but I also like to buy blue chip cards of what other people love. And you may be asking, why would you buy something you're not really that interested in? Well, let's take Roman Reigns, for example. Everybody loves Roman. I like watching him. That being said, he's not really part of my core PC. But I know he's a good buy because everybody loves him. He's top of the card right now. So if I buy some Roman parallels, gold or whatever, any other kind of parallel, I know that somebody's going to want that card whenever I'm ready to sell it. Can probably make a good amount of money on it as far as margins go. And then I just take that money and I put it back into whatever's going to be in my PC, or maybe to just buy more cards that I know other people like. And I've talked about some videos on the past, like don't buy the stuff that you don't truly love because you don't want to get caught holding the bag. Well, if I got stuck holding some Roman Reigns cards, to me, unless you just paid like a ridiculous amount to get it, I don't really think that's a card you're going to be stuck holding the bag with. And look at other talent like Brock, Shawn Michaels, obviously The Rock. There's, pick your name out there. Whether it's a legend or it's a top superstar currently, a lot of the money to be made is on the initial buy, not what you actually sell it for. That's a topic for another video. 1982 Wrestling All-Stars, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, BGS 9.5 lot, $35,000. However, a best offer of $25,000 was accepted. Vintage wrestling cards are still alive and well and doing really well sales-wise, obviously, despite a lot of the push for modern wrestling. Don't get me wrong, I love the modern wrestling stuff. I love shiny stuff. I know I just kind of talked down on gold refractors, but they're still gold refractors. They are what they are. And I still like watching modern wrestling and, picking off pieces here and there of stuff that I think is cool. But besides that, there are 2 points that I want to make with the sales of these cards. First being that they were sold in a lot. Despite what many people have said or thought, when you sell items in lots like this, whether it's 2 items, 5 items, an entire set, most of the time you're not going to get the value on it as you would if you broke those up and sold those as singles. So it just depends on your goal, I guess. If you need to just liquidate stuff and get money as quick as possible, absolutely put that lot together, throw it up for auction, and just let it run. But if you want to get the most bang for your buck, it's best to do single item listings, and I'm a big buy it now guy, and you can do best offer and let people negotiate. But the other thing I wanted to mention here is the play on vintage wrestling. Many people, especially the ones pushing the modern wrestling card hobby, and myself included, have also said at times, are people going to care about these vintage wrestling cards in 30 years? Are people even going to know who Dusty Rhodes is, or Bruiser Brody, or Vern Gagne, or many of the other legends that are in this great wrestling entertainment sport, whatever you want to call it? Are they going to remember these guys? Are kids going to care? The hobby's about the kids. Or will people even care about them because they've been canceled with cancel culture for some of the things they've done in their personal lives, whether it's physically something they did to someone or something they said? And the only thing that I keep coming up with is look at vintage baseball. Many of the people buying vintage baseball currently didn't grow up watching any of those guys. Because I know that's the common thing. People saying, well, I didn't grow up with Hulk Hogan, that's not really my era, so I don't collect him. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when you compare it to vintage baseball, I just think it's going to kind of follow that same trajectory, not in the numbers, obviously, but in like the fact that some of this stuff is just iconic. And another interesting trend that we've seen lately is that the market seems to be down a little bit with sports cards and, well, kind of collectibles in general, unless you've got super high-end stuff. But yet vintage baseball just keeps going slow and to the right. Very, very slow. You're not seeing those giant up and down charts on sales. So it's something to think about. But something else with vintage, whether it's baseball or basketball or hockey or non-sport, whatever it is, something to think about with vintage is that it gets to a point with some of these cards where they just become iconic pieces of art, regardless of who's on it, regardless of what era it's from, or what year it was produced. These things kind of transcend it. Look at the 52 Mantle. It's not his true rookie card. He had a card or two before that, I think. But people see this thing now as a true work of art. And to some, it's a status symbol. So again, just kind of spitballing some ideas about why I still think vintage is a play. Whether you watched them or not, another thing that I did not mention is that we have Peacock, WWE Network, YouTube, whatever you want to call it. You can go back and watch all of this archived footage of wrestling I've talked about before. This is something that people in the sports card world don't really do, and that's go back and watch old stuff. You collect Michael Jordan. I don't know too many people going back and watching old Michael Jordan footage. However, there are people out there that are huge Macho Man collectors or Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they like to go back and watch their best matches or their promos. So I think that is something that can kind of keep vintage wrestling cards, no matter what set it is or what wrestlers are on it, something that kind of keep those cards alive and well in the modern product, no matter who it is, no matter how old you are. 20 years from now, people will still be talking about Macho Man if his footage is still available for people to view online. But regardless of all of this stuff, I love vintage wrestling. It's something that I connect with more than anything. I've talked a lot about wrestling history, how much I love going back and digging into the territory days and watching old TV footage and squash matches and learning about gimmicks. I just love wrestling history, and I hope more people will kind of start going back and learning about the past. And that doesn't mean you got to dump all your money into vintage wrestling or all of a sudden you're, a huge world-class fan just because, and that's cool if that happens. But if you're a modern fan, like what you like. I like watching modern wrestling too, but I also like learning about the past. And, that maybe gets you into vintage cards. But do whatever you want. I'm just spitballing here. 2022 Prism WWE Andre the Giant Black 1 of 1 BGS 7, $15,099.99 with $4 shipping. The only Prism card to make my list this month, because we talked about enough of it last month, right? But this is a huge card. It's a really good image of Andre here, and it's a cool color match, the black border with his black gear and black hair. There's a lot of interesting color match stuff you can look at with Panini Prism. I don't know if it's really going to take off, but there's some fun things you can do, or pieces of rainbows you can put together based on color match stuff. We'll see what happens with that. But I spoke earlier in this video about a lesson of buying the card, not the grade, when it comes to rare, scarce cards. And this card is the other example that I mentioned earlier that I was going to talk about. Okay, let's start with it's a 1 of 1. With the 1 of 1 cards, it doesn't matter what a card grades. The Andre Super Collector or the Big Time Wrestling Card Investor, no matter if it's Raw or no matter what company's slab that this card is in. And again, I'm not disparaging high grade cards with, the 9s and the 10s, especially on the old stuff. That's obviously what we all want. I'm just saying I think people continue to get hung up on this mental process where if this is the card I want, this is the grail, this is what I need to complete the rainbow, this is what I've been looking for my whole life. They find that card, and then they find out it's an SGC 6, it's a BGS 8, it's a PSA 7. And they're all of a sudden like, oh, well, I can't have this because everybody in social media says, you gotta have the 10, you gotta have the 9. So if I find this one-of-a-kind item and it's not that, what everybody tells me to do, then it doesn't belong in my collection. I just don't get that thought process. I guess maybe the one kind of caveat for that would be if you were putting a set registry together and you wanted all 9s or all 8s or 10s or 1s or whatever it is, you would want the continuity of that specific grade. So I get that. But if it's, 1 of 1 here, just like we're talking about today, or some other rare, hard-to-find card you just don't see pop up but maybe once or twice a year, buy it in whatever grade it's in. Just enjoy it. Because after all, last time I checked, the hobby was about enjoying the card that you had and not collecting slabs, so to speak. And lastly, what is with that $4 shipping? I really hope the seller of this item did not just throw this in a bubble mailer and send it first class. Cards that sell for this kind of value, they need to be either overnighted or they need to be hand delivered. Just some customer service tips for you. I hope this video brought you some value today. If it did, please hit that subscribe button and give me a like. And make sure to check out the links in the show notes to all of the other ways that you can help show your support for my content. And until next time, click the videos on the screen for more great wrestling card content, and I'll see you there.